Dr. Colby, and I'm stepping in here to talk to you about one of, if not the most important steps to healing, and it's sleep. Okay, obviously we all know how important sleep is, but what we don't know is that sleep, arguably, in my own experience, is one, if not the most important. I would say nutrition's up there, which is why that's first. Sleep is two, in terms of the priorities of things you have to optimize for. Because if you don't optimize for sleep, you know what happens? Your body can't recover, your body can't restore itself, and it leads to a plethora of downstream impacts, which is why night shift workers, on average, depending on the industry, live 5 to 7 to, depending on the industry, close to 10 years shorter than someone who does not work night shifts. So if that's you, working night shifts, you got to get out of there. But what we're going to do here is talk about everything that you can do in your everyday life to improve your circadian biology, to ultimately improve your sleep. It's about the quality of your sleep more than anything else. So a great book and a great author who knows a lot about light, which impacts obviously your sleep, is malillumination is to light as malnutrition is to food, meaning that if you have the wrong lights, if you aren't being exposed to the proper wavelengths, aka light, then this is the same exact concept as eating the wrong foods, right? Or not getting the right nutrients through food. So I'm going to first go through quickly a few different pictures that I think illustrates the impact that light has on hormones and health. And then we're going to be very specific with what action steps you need to take today to start to get results. You ready? Let's dive in. Okay. Great picture here that shows the light pollution from 1950 into 2025. So obviously we see now basically across the country, except maybe in certain pockets here, that there's a plethora of artificial light that's skewing the night sky. We'll talk about why that is an impact next. Another crazy, this one is just nuts, goes through breast cancer, its incidence in Georgia, different light exposure at night, and how the incidence, which this is closer to an urban area obviously, is much higher near where there's higher exposure, higher incidence to artificial light at night. So indicating, again, not cause, but indicating that this is a factor, even something like breast cancer. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Next, it goes over, great article here that goes over after sunset, the amount of overall illumination, especially in our home, that happens on average with the American household. Again, crazy. We see a very, very high amount of this malillumination or artificial lighting at night impacting everything, which we'll talk about next. A lot of people think, right, they just think of a few hormones when it comes to sleep, light, and recovery. They think of what? Melatonin. Without the understanding that every hormone is on somewhat of a 24-hour clock. And so if you don't have the proper circadian biology or circadian rhythms that we evolved with for thousands of years, you're going to be impacting all of these hormones, testosterone, cortisol. This is for your hunger. This is for your thyroid. So everything from your blood sugar to your thyroid to your hormones to everything else downstream is being impacted because we're all on a 24-hour clock, okay? They say that the male clock is 24 hours and the female clock is 28 days, and there is some truth into that, but we all have certain hormones as humans that are released at certain times. And so we have to understand this because if we're not in the proper circadian biology, our hormones can't be optimal, and then you're consistently fighting an uphill battle. It's going to be tough to be healthy in that. Another amazing picture here, let me pull this up, that talks about the different wavelengths of light and like how important UV wavelengths or UV frequency is to our different hormones. Amazing here, right? So this goes over all of the different light spectrums and how important it is for all of these downstream effects. We see this is like almost everything in the body. It's crazy. And one of my favorite here, and just so you know, all of this, the sources are all underneath here. How sunlight, right, which is UVA, UVB, and UVC, right? That's what a lot of people don't know about, right? There's different, all the UVs and wavelengths that the sun emits. These are all the downstream hormonal impacts that are affected by the sunlight. So you've been told to be scared of the sun. Wow, what a crazy, crazy thing. Where the sun, because of the different amount of wavelengths that are in that energy source, right? It controls the energy source of the entire planet. It controls all of your circadian biology. We have to emulate and we have to repeat this in our everyday life, which is why a lot of us have downstream problems and why our sleep is being impacted, whether you know it or not. Like you may say, well, I get 8.5 hours, my sleep's fine. The issue is that it's impossible to get the restorative and high quality sleep that you expect and that your body needs if you're not having the proper circadian biology or the proper light exposure during the day and at night. We'll talk about that here at Action Steps next. So really good stuff. One of the craziest things that if you really want to deep dive, we aren't going to get into yet because it's just such a deep dive, but it's a crazy deep dive, is it goes over, I would say, the broad use of sunscreen and how melanoma incidence has actually dramatically increased since the, I would say, cultural phenomenon of us thinking that we have to be afraid of the sun and have to use sunscreen everywhere. So even though that we're protecting, quote unquote, ourselves more, what do we see? The most deadly form of skin cancer is skyrocketing. So again, goes to show you here, we have to follow the rhythms and pattern of nature, because if we don't do that, we're going to create this environment where our bodies can't be optimal and thrive, because we evolved for thousands of years, not separate from nature, but part of nature. And it's such an important concept for all of us to understand, because the goal of what we're trying to teach you is that when you live in alignment with that environment, then everything else works the way it's supposed to, and you can stop doing all these random things because you're allowing the body to be in the environment. It's been around for thousands of years, which creates the energetic response that we need to thrive, right? This guy's a good follow on X. It's just crazy. This is a picture, right, of his dad. He saw his dad just turned 81. The area of his skin, they got exposed to sun every day. Looks like it has no problems, no major issues. Where, look at this, his back, which has been covered for how long, looks like it has some stuff that has to be at least checked upon consistently, right? So it goes to show you, we shouldn't be afraid of the sun. We have to understand how everything impacts the circadian biology, because if we do that, we can get restful and restorative sleep, which sleep cleans up the debris from the previous day, the damage from the previous day, which allows then for your body to come prepared and have the energy, capacity, and vitality that it needs for the following day. So let's dive into actually action steps, right? Because we just talked about all of these pictures and show that basically the same pattern. Chronic illness increases when our artificial light exposure, when we are afraid of the sun, the incidence of deadly cancers increase. So this is all going back to sleep, because the goal is that sleep is restorative. It cleans up the debris from the previous day, and it allows for our biology and our rhythms to be optimal, right? So the goal is always 7 to 9. I am of the belief that humans need closer to 9 to 10 hours of actual time in bed, because just because you're in bed for 8 hours does not mean that you're getting a complete 8 hours of sleep, right? So I'm of the belief that it's actually closer to being in bed for a total of 9 to 10 hours, so you can get at least 8 hours of high quality, uninterrupted sleep consistently every night. If you have trouble falling asleep, here are a few major reasons that we see: busy mind, blue light exposure, low melatonin, high estrogen. If you have trouble staying asleep, liver, blood sugar, toxicity of cortisol, I would say all of this. I would also say low CO2. We'll talk about that next. And if you're feeling like you're unrefreshed, it means that potentially all of these things, that your body's not able to get that deep restorative sleep, which then does not allow you to have that vitality or energy throughout the day. So it could be a combination or a few of all of these things. So our major goal of all of this, right? Most people talk to you about the different cycles of sleep, all of that. You can find all of that online. What we're trying to educate you on is that your actions during the day and how aligned your circadian biology is with the rhythms of the earth, which is a manifestation here of all of your behaviors throughout the day, not just right before bed. All of that impacts your sleep, which nobody talks about that, right? Nobody talks about how much sunlight you get during the day, at the times you get, how much blue light exposure you have throughout the day. That impacts the quality of your sleep. So it's about your consistent actions throughout the day impacts your sleep. Okay, so here's how you get good sleep. Here's how to summarize everything. If you're like, okay, that's a lot of information, what do I do? You optimize for the light and dark cycles. This is technology, this is exposure with the sun, so that your body can be back into this rhythm of the circadian biology. That's step one. Step two is that you set yourself up for success with a routine that's calming, relaxing, and non-stimulating before bed and in the morning. You go over what we call the 3-2-1 practice, which is a great way to practice and to understand how to implement all of this effectively in your life to get high quality sleep. And then number 4 is that you create a sanctuary in your bedroom that basically your bedroom is for 2 things: sleep and sex, and nothing else. If you're going to get anything in terms of action steps, take these 4 principles and apply them to your life, and your health will change, bar none. Okay, so we're first going to go one by one. I'm going to go through this quickly. You can go through all the information, the resources we have at the bottom. Okay, we just went over all of this, right? The sun exposure, your exposure to sun regulates all of your hormones, everything. Okay, so it means that you have to get outside and get sun exposure on your skin, even if it's cloudy, for example, even if it's cold, because this is going to regulate everything downstream, everything. Okay, one of the easiest ways to do this, and we call this a pro tip, the ultimate hack, is upon waking, see the sunlight within 30 minutes upon waking and touch the ground. You're getting the energetic frequency from the earth. You're getting all of the circadian biology wavelengths from the sun. You're resetting all of your hormones all at once. And this must be done, of course, without sunglasses, right? Sunglasses in your eyes are one of the main indications of how these wavelengths are communicated to your brain. So if you wear sunglasses, you're blocking the body's ability to get those wavelengths into your brain. Good luck. This is also how you get sunburned. You're out on the boat all day, you're wearing glasses. You're not allowing your brain to know the intensity and the amount of these UV wavelengths for your skin to produce the necessary protective measures that it needs to not get burnt. First thing you do is you take off your sunglasses. Like, okay, if it's a boat day, I'll have my sunglasses on occasionally, maybe, but I always take them on and off to make sure that my brain understands what's happening, okay? And then, again, for this optimal light and dark cycles, you have to be hyper aware of technology and of the light exposure at night, okay? There's a program that you can download for your screen. It's called Flux. I have it right here. It can turn all of your screen, it'll turn your entire computer screen red. There's a hack for your phone to turn your phone on red. All of your lights should be either red or low blue light, non-flicker bulbs. And I always wear these almost always throughout the day, and also especially at night, because I don't want anything impacting my light and dark cycles, especially in the evening. And there's things I want to do. I might want to watch a show with my fiance. I might want to do some more work. I might not be optimal in terms of I have to go to a room where my lights aren't optimal. So these just kind of are the necessary stepping stone to allow for myself to be aware and to not get the blue light, which indicates to your brain it's the middle of the day, so it starts producing the wrong hormones in the evening. So, right, it's being hyper aware of all of the blue light exposure at night, which is from technology, it's from light bulbs, most importantly. Okay, so you can read this. Ray Peat obviously is it's really impacted all of us, but it's just the different types of exposure of light and how that is at specific times of the day. You see here, it's a different color temperature in Kelvin, which is why in the morning and in the evening, you want red bulbs. Like, that's all I have around the places where I'm spending that time in the morning. Okay, here are all those different things we talked about here. Bulbs, screens, this is the ability to control light, and this is obviously blue light blockers. We have all this information for you in the resources section, which will allow for you just to basically double click on that and allow for you to just copy and paste. And if you do all this stuff, it's amazing about these swaps. It's a one-time swap, which is amazing. So you can see all of these here just showing you bulbs, different light exposure, all the same thing. Again, bottom line is eliminate as much blue light in the evening as you possibly can from your technology, from your light bulbs. Once you do that, your circadian biology will be locked in, your downstream hormones are going to be more optimal, and your sleep and recovery and repair will be much more optimal as well. So again, a routine. It basically means don't watch Game of Thrones before you head to bed. Like, bad idea. Do calming things, take baths, do detox routines, prayer, journal, read, have sex with your spouse, have good conversations. Just get in the most relaxed state you possibly can, right? So a lot of the stimulating activities that we do in the evening also then are attached to blue light as well. So this is where, just like, honestly, stay off tech an hour prior to bed and your life will dramatically improve, right? And we're pretty adamant about no caffeine in general, in my opinion, but no caffeine, especially if you're having trouble sleeping. No caffeine, especially if you're having trouble sleeping after 2 p.m. That's a non-negotiable. Like if you're having caffeine in the afternoon, it means your blood sugar is way out of whack. It means nothing is going to work downstream. Okay. So we call this the 3-2-1 practice. No food 3 hours before bed, no work 2 hours before bed, no tech 1 hour before bed. It's making sure that your digestive tract with the no food has been able to digest and absorb all of its food so that during sleep, your body can actually repair itself and not focus on digesting your food. Some people, because of their blood sugar, might need a little bit of a high protein, high fat snack. If you're waking up in the middle of the night, that can be because of your blood sugar. You might need a little bit high fat, high carb snack, which is okay. That's a separate issue though. We're talking about eating your largest meal of the day close to bed is a big no-no. I always try to give myself at least 2.5, if not 3 hours, depending on the day, if not 4 hours before I eat. It also fits nicely into the 14-10 eating window, which most people can improve on, meaning that you fast for 14 hours throughout the day, meaning from your last meal to your first meal, and then you have a 10-hour eating window. It also allows for you to be consistent with your eating. So all of this is just, it's an added benefit to following this one process, okay? No work 2 hours before bed, pretty self-explanatory. Then no tech, we just talked about that. Blue light exposure, EMFs, all things are going to radically impact the sleep quality. If you can do this one thing, where if you just if you were to take everything that I set up to this point and do this one thing, no tech 1 hour prior to bed, it would fix the blue light from tech. It would fix the stimulation. It would force you to do something relaxing and I would say helpful, like reading, journaling, prayer, communication, sex, and it would allow for your sleep to dramatically improve, okay? This is something that our mentors always taught us, is that 1 hour of sleep before midnight is equal to 2 hours after. So goal is go to bed consistently at the same time, wake up consistently at the same time. Do that as early as you can every day, right? We want to follow the cycles of the sun and moon. So once it starts to get dark at night, you should be winding down. I know it can be challenging, but that's the expectation, the goal, if you want to set yourself up for success. And so this is just the last thing we covered, right, is that you want to create this sanctuary around your sleep and specifically your bedroom. You want to have blackout curtains. The room has to be completely black. It has to be a little bit colder at night. Your bedroom should be for sleep and sex and self-reflection, of course, but it basically means that there's no air, there's no computer, there's no TV in your room. Like that's absolutely not. Like why would you even have that exposure? Because that impacts your sleep in so many quality ways, and that's not the reason that you have a bedroom. So we're going to talk about mouth tape, but it's a really good avenue for almost all individuals because if you mouth breathe, you're decreasing your CO2, which is the most important thing you need actually, is why almost always as well. You're getting up in the middle of the night. If you wake up with dry mouth, have to chug water, all of those things, mouth tape can be a huge advocate. I'm a huge advocate for mouth tape because of its dramatic impacts in my own experience. Here are a few different things you can do depending on kind of what you struggle with. We got some teas, right? Calming teas, obviously no caffeine. Magnesium, huge. Baking soda, huge. And here's another different alternative if you do get hypoglycemic or your blood sugar crashes at night. This would be oftentimes if you wake up between like 1 to 4 a.m., it usually means that your blood sugar has crashed or dipped. That if you just eat a little bit of fat, protein prior to when you head to bed, it'll improve everything. So what are your actual action steps? Okay, here are the foundational action steps. Number one is that you're going to bed within the same hour every single night. It doesn't matter if it's the weekend, it doesn't matter if it's the week. You pick a time that works for you and your family, and you go to bed within the same hour. So for me, that's 9 p.m., meaning that I give myself like on the weekends, like 10 p.m. is, about the latest that I stay out. That's pretty late for me these days. But it's like you're giving yourself an hour, play around with that. So mine in the AM is 5:30. On the weekends, I was out for friends or hanging out, whatever, and I didn't go to bed till 10:30. I'll still get up within the same hour, right? Between, let's call it 4:30 and 6:30-ish, right? So to me, that's the 5:30 time. I still wake up at the same time. You really want to be consistent with this 3-2-1 technique, and you want to implement a calming activity in the evening. You need to go through your phone, your computer, your bulbs, and make sure that all of those are optimal, especially where you're spending the most time at night. And you want to make sure there's no exposure to other types of light sources in your bedroom. This would be blackout curtains if you need to put an eye mask on, all of those things, right? And one of the biggest aspects of a foundational step is removing all technology from your room. Nothing should be plugged in next to you. Your phone needs to be on the airplane mode. Your Wi-Fi has to be off. Your phone cannot be charging next to you next to bed. Like, oh my gosh, like the worst thing you could ever do in terms of blasting yourself with EMFs is charging your phone next to you on your nightstand. It's going to disrupt your circadian biology dramatically. Don't do that. Okay, so this is where we're talking about turning off your Wi-Fi, putting your phone on airplane mode before bed. If you're a mom, if you're a dad, you have kids, you're concerned about this, what you do is you put your phone charging away from you, like away from where you sleep in your room on loud. And that's how, if something happens, you're concerned, you don't have the exposure of your phone next to you, so it won't impact your sleep, but you can still wake up if something happens. This would be taking things up a notch, would be going for that morning walk 30 minutes upon waking and grounding yourself if possible every morning or as much as possible. And the best optimization would be mouth tape at night with the sleep supplement stack, depending on where you're at. So here are all the action steps that you need to optimize your sleep and your circadian biology, which, as I stated earlier in the beginning, is one, if not the most important aspects to your healing journey, because your sleep is how you recover from the burden of the previous day. It's how your body detoxifies all of your cells, and it's how your body allows for the restoration of the damage so that you can maintain your progress, okay? So if you don't lock in your circadian biology, which is the rhythms of the earth and how we evolve with those, right? Because we aren't separate from nature, we're part of it, then inherently your sleep quality will be impacted, right? So you optimize your circadian biology to get the highest quality sleep so you can restore yourself from the previous damage so you can be optimal the following day. If you optimize your sleep, you'll optimize your health, one of the most important aspects. I hope